Prince, that may be why his back is sore all the time and he has issues with his frame, because he's wearing fucking high heels platforms all the time. So he was like blackballed from the documentary. Never came to be made. It was lost in the wind.
Wait a minute, who was the one in the heels?
Kevin Smith was hired to do a documentary on Prince.
Oh, and Prince was in heels.
And Prince was in heels.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he was bitching about his back and his medical issues, apparently. And Kevin Smith made a remark and said, well, maybe, you might want to think into not wearing high heels. Yeah.
I don't believe for 1 second that Prince died of, it is funny, but it brings up something very serious. And you know me, I always love to rain on a parade. I'm only happy when it rains. I don't believe for a second that Prince died of a drug overdose that he administered to himself. I don't believe it.
Is it the same Dr. Field?
I also don't believe that what's happening to Wendy Williams doesn't have everything to do with the things that she has been saying about hip hop, and particularly Sean Combs, for 2 decades. It's punishment.
I've been following the Wendy Williams thing. What's that going on?
You have? Okay. So let's talk about it.
One low rent depraved topic a month for me when it comes to Sean Combs.
Do you like Wendy Williams?
I know of her. She's a low rent talk show host, right? Or something similar to Oprah.
I kind of viewed her show as a meta commentary on trashiness.
Okay.
I worship Wendy Williams. One of the primary inspirations for this podcast is Wendy Williams. I was supposed to have done my first solo episode yesterday, and I was so intimidated by the specter of Wendy Williams that I couldn't bring myself to do it. And when she did behind this, so I'm in my home in Georgetown, Ontario, Canada, with my second husband. He's not home. I'm sitting down. I haven't watched Wendy Williams in a long time. It's the first time they do a behind the scenes segment. And the room that I'm in is deep charcoal black, deep charcoal gray, white trim, rather ornate. And I won't describe everything, but I will say that this is the room that I'm in. And when I watch the behind the scenes segment, it's in her office. And her office looks like a mirror of mine. So I feel very close to her. I've met her. I've spoken to her.
Oh, you've met her?
I met her. She lives in New Jersey. At one point, we were living not too far from one another. I had a freelance project that brought me to a industry party. She's standing up against the wall. I said, hello, Ms. Williams. She said, hi, what do you do here? Without even looking at me. And I said, well, I'm with so-and-so. I said, are you having a good time? She said, no. But, it's work, so what are you going to do? I said, to be honest with you, I feel the same way. She said, great. I like that shirt. It was really kind of cold, but it was also kind of warm. And I really appreciated that about her. I appreciate so much about her, I won't get into it. I will tell you that for 20 or 30 years, she has been telling the world bits and pieces of the Jeffrey Epstein-esque, satanic, adjacent nature of the hip-hop industry. It's barely repressed homosexuality. It's decadence, it's evil, it's manipulativeness, and it's horror.
Right.
With hints about things that have happened to, people who, looking back, we as an audience did not treat very well, like Justin Bieber. And because, the whole thing is, it's quite clear that Justin Bieber was molested by Diddy during those parties when he was 15, 16, 17.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of disturbing stuff. I don't even want to get into it. But hip hop, which Wendy always loved, but as a truth teller, had to report on. And don't forget, this is a subculture where you don't snitch. I can't help but think that what I'm about to tell you is because of that. So Wendy Williams had this amazing talk show. I don't really think it was trashy. I think it was like a comment on trashiness. Kind of like Absolutely Fabulous was a commentary on its world, not of that world.
Okay.
So the last year or two of the show, it starts to go haywire. She faints at one point. She comes out crying half of the time, and then she says it's because she's so grateful that the audience is there for her. She publicly announces that she's in a halfway house because she'd had substance abuse issues intermittently throughout her life. And she very, very, very mysteriously in the last season, right before she started going on all of these sick leaves that ultimately necessitated people like Whitney Cummings taking over for her, which wasn't a great look for Whitney Cummings, because that's when Whitney Cummings, according to Whitney Cummings, was crazy. I loved watching it.
Yeah,
I
she's
thought it
still
was great.
Crazy.
But
that's her whole thing.
I think that being a mother has really grounded her.
Okay.
All of those hormonal surges.
Are you saying that being a mother is less crazy than being crazy to begin with?
Women go two ways.
Okay.
Women go two ways. Women either become mushy, crazy, angry, or withdrawn after a child.
Okay.
Or they become Wonder Woman.
Oh.
It can go both ways in my observation. But I don't think that our culture has really grappled with the profound biological changes that happen to women, and how when that baby is born, that woman is also born again, because women just aren't the same afterward. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Most of the time it's a good thing. But the fact that women don't even have the room to like move around and deal with that and talk about it is weird to me. Anyway, back to Wendy. No, because there's so much to talk about today. By the way, I turned the camera on.
It's okay. I knew that we were.
So she went on all these sick leaves, but like a month or two before she did, she said, "Hey, Norman," that's her producer. She said, "Hey, Norman, you know, if I was in trouble," because they were talking about a celebrity who was in a lot of trouble with someone, I don't remember. She said, "You know what I would do? I would fake being sick. Yeah. And I wouldn't tell anyone.
Okay.
And I would go into hiding, and I would let everyone think that I was crazy, and then I would plot my revenge." So immediately after that, she starts going on all of these sick leaves. Eventually, she never comes back. The show gets canceled. The slot gets filled by Sherri Shepherd, formerly of The View. And Sherri basically steals the format.
Is Sherri Shepherd being cloned? There's so much.
Why? Because she looks so different?
No, because she's everywhere in the popular culture.
Is she?
Well, she seems to be. She's an actress. She's always, there was that joke about her, so she was always taking other people's roles when other people were going up for a role. Like, no, it was Judy Gold was telling that story. She was up for a part, and Sherri Shepherd got the part on Raymond.
Really?
And she says every time she turned around, Sherri Shepherd was getting a role. And she's nice and she's great, but she's always there.
Did Judy Gold have a sitcom at one point?
No, she was. I think she has a sitcom now, actually. She was interviewed on Maron years ago. And,
she's so funny.
She's hilarious. I love Judy Gold.
Have you seen her? She's funny. Have you seen her? She did a whole bunch. She did a press tour with Sandra Bernhard, who I think is her best friend.
Okay.
And as funny and genius as they are,
yeah,
it's quite an experience to deal with two talented comedic Jewesses, right, on one stage, the way they bounce stuff off one another. Oh, it's so brilliant to watch. Let me finish this Wendy Williams thing. So Wendy Williams ends up having a documentary made about her, and she looks really unwell. And there's references to drinking a bottle of vodka a day. And from this, Wells Fargo, her bank, and I did not know that in the United States this was possible. Wells Fargo, the bank, asked a judge to place a conservatorship on her, a la BRiTNEY SPEARS, with the bank's representative in charge. Then all of these reports start coming out from Wendy and her friends that she's basically being held in a room the size of ours, right here at the luxurious downtown Hamilton YMCA.
Yeah, let's not give any location out here.
But I want to talk about it.
It's okay. I'm just kidding. I just want people to know how much I hate it and love it all at the same time.
Yes, it's very convenient. Okay. So So she's being held prisoner, basically. And then very recent, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to get into. And then recently, I would say in the past 3 months, she's been making these appearances and doing these telephone interviews where it's quite clear that she's just as sharp as she ever was, that she was an absolute mess in that documentary, and she had slipped back into alcoholism, as happens sometimes when you are a woman who is cheated on by a husband in the public eye. So not only do you have to deal with the loss of it, but you also have to deal with the embarrassment of it and the betrayal of it. And that she's fine now, and like what's happening to her is even worse than what's happening to Britney Spears, because with Britney Spears, it was her father, which is ugly, but it happens. But this, to me, set a very dangerous precedent because it was a bank. Jesus Why are we allowing these banks to take over the lives of their own customers? It's ridiculous.
That's frightening.
So at bare minimum, what's happening to her is very dangerous in terms of the way that our legal system works. It's something that everyone, regardless of whether or not they know who she is, should be really concerned about. On the other hand, for people who love Wendy Williams and people who follow Wendy Williams and people who, you know, have that whole Candace Owens view of Hollywood and the entertainment industry, which I do, there's something else going on. And either this is Wendy Williams planning all of this in some weird way to protect herself from something even worse. In other words, she's in on it and she's a great actress and we never knew that. Or this is being done to her by the Jeffrey Epstein-esque baby oil slathered Sean Puffy Combs.
Well, what's with this guy? He clearly didn't have an end game exit strategy. I mean, honestly, if you're going to be a depraved asshole and a low rent rapist and your little parties and blah blah blah, why wouldn't you have an exit strategy? So if everything goes shit sideways, you don't have a way out. Like through information, as we know, is a commodity. In order to get out. Well, look at Ghislaine. She's sitting there in Club Fed right now giving courses on yoga and etiquette. Yes, you heard it here, folks. Etiquette. She's giving etiquette lessons.
I mean, really, would you want it from anyone else?
Well, no, especially from someone who's grooming young girls to be models or blowing low-rent producers or Arab sheiks, right? Hey, you're a 15-year-old girl told you're beautiful at CVS, and here, come for a job opportunity. Next thing you know, you're on Epstein's Island, being groomed, and she's giving courses in.
No, don't be sorry.
I don't get. No. I mean, I'm sorry that
it's a great point.
I can't get beyond it.
The only counter that I would give to you is that when I was 15, nothing would have made me happier than to have gotten wrapped up in something like that.
Yeah, but that goes into the double standard of men who would enjoy, like I said to Bridget Fessy, the comedian online, I said, I would like you to be a cult leader so you can, you know, blah, blah, blah. I didn't say this part so she could molest me. And I hope you stay stringent to the characteristics of a cult leader who will molest them. But you only get molested if you don't want to be molested. You don't get molested if you really want to be molested. But that's the problem.
Well, the rare female cult leader tends to be a little more altruistic than the male ones.
Does that mean fat?
No, it doesn't.
Bridget's smoking hot. It looks like Ava Gardner.
It doesn't.
Who I would like to be molested by.
Do you know what my favorite Ava Gardner quote is?
What?
So when she was with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra was caught having an affair with Mia Farrow. So Ava,
I didn't know that.
So some gossip columnist, or they had broken up a few years before, I don't know. But anyway, some gossip columnist asked Ava what she thought of this late breaking news. And Ava said, I always knew he'd end up with a boy.
Oh. Wasn't there a lot of stories that he was obsessed and hung up on her?
Ava Gardner?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be?
Well, yeah.
Of everyone he was with, I think she was the most beautiful.
Yeah, and Mia Farrow does look like...
And I also think she had the most rockin' personality.
That's hilarious. I'm reading a book by Don DeLillo, who's like a contemporary writer who writes about the fringes of society, but in a very elegant, poetic fashion.
Yes, tell me as I adjust my Star of David.
Beautiful writer. He writes all these disparate kind of stories that link together in this grand tapestry. I use the word tapestries. I'm a pretentious asshole. But yeah, no, these beautiful slices of everyday life, which is another phrase you use when you can't think of anything else to say, right? Slices of life, tapestry. What am I, a 13-year-old girl writing poetry? Hiding under my bed? No, my cyst. I'm getting over my cyst. Everything's on the table in this interview, so reality is as we know it, and it's real.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
No, everything's on the table here.
Oh, I want to note, move over this way just a little bit. No, just temporarily.
Okay.
So I want to note that and also, I've never really made clear that when I do these split screen interviews that I'm actually in the room with you, so now it's clear that that's what I'm doing. Okay. So when you watch this, you're going to see that right here, there's one of these posters that says, YMCA is all inclusive. Everyone feels comfortable here, which I hate because when I go to the gym, when I go to the gym, I want to feel like the fattest, ugliest person in the room. I want that self-loathing to motivate me to lift heavier. Yeah. But there's this poster here, and it just looks like he's watching you. But anyway,
you know what? I don't even remember what I was saying. It doesn't matter.
You were talking. I can tell you.
No,
you were talking about Don DeLeo.
Yeah.
You were talking about your cyst.
Yeah, and I was just getting old. Truly is horrifying. And like my mom used to say, old age isn't for pussies or sissies. She said sissies. I said pussies.
Okay.
She was a middle class lady. She would never say pussy. She would say sissy.
That became my grandmother's favorite word when she was an inch from death. All of a sudden, she was calling everyone a pussy. But anyway,
oh my God.
What's going on with your cyst?
No, it's like everything. 20 years ago, I get one, so I get one again. But a couple of days later,
same exact place?
Same exact place, and I got to go to the hospital. Okay, explain this to me. We're in 2025 here. And the doctor says to me, hey, I got an Asian. I said, yeah, Asian, because Asians are smart and they're in medicine. That's not racist. That's a fact.
You went to hospital and you asked for an Asian.
No, I didn't ask for an Asian. I got an Asian, which I'm happy with. A Jew or an Asian or an Indian. That's all I want for doctors, okay? But it was a student Asian doc. And the doctor, the older guy, he said, if it's okay with you? I said, sure, why not?
Where did you go?
St. Joe's. I go, sure, why not? I'm not going to go to a chop shop to get a $10 haircut, but hey, I'll let a 15-year-old with a scalpel on my shoulder. Why not? Hey, okay. I'm all inclusive, but I'm called racist, right?
Okay.
But no.
Were you?
No, well, yeah, I am racist. I'm racist in the sense of when it comes to equity, when it comes to do your job. Meritocracy, I should say.
So you're not opposed to relying on stereotypes to pick the best person for the job.
That's right, yeah, for sure.
Which is perfectly all right because you're not figuring out who the worst person for the job
is. It's like, do you want a fat lesbian who's 90 pounds going up a staircase to rescue someone? No, you need a firefighter who's a guy. Or the odd buff lesbian bull dyke chick. Well, right? Can you have women firefighters?
Yes, you can. You can have women firefighters. Yes. Those like lesbians who are built like tanks and they have the low center of gravity.
Okay, well, they could do it, yeah.
They're amazing. Yeah. I'm not kidding. I know it sounds funny. Yeah. I'm not being disrespectful. That body type can sometimes do that job of being a firefighter better than a man.
Yeah, I'm just saying that we've gone off the deep end in the sense of
absolutely.
Anybody, everybody, for every job just because they can do it. And all I'm saying is that, hey, I want an Asian Indian or super hot white or Jew or a super hot white chick, pasty faced white chick from Lancaster, who's really hot.
That's what I had when I was in the psych ward.
In the psych ward? See, I haven't gone to a psych ward yet. Yeah. I say, when I lose my mind, which is going to be soon. So I had the cyst, the hernia, the kidney stone. Okay, on all three, one was.
Have they all come back or just?
No. The kidney stone was gone, but that could come back in 20 years. But I'll be dead, so who cares, right? 20 years later, the cyst comes back. Now the hernia. That can come back also. I had a super hot chick erect a fence inside me, laparoscopically speaking.
So you got the mesh.
The mesh. I loved it because she was super hot. She looked like Emma Samms, I said to my mom.
Oh, okay.
I said to my mom at General Hospital, come on, General Hospital, 1985, running home at 3 p.m.
I only watched Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay. I watched Bold and Beautiful, all my children, because I was obsessed with Susan Lucci, and I was obsessed with Finola Hughes, who played who had the black hair and the slacks.
Yeah.
I like women in slacks and high heels. I love that.
Like a Donna Mills.
I fucking love Donna Mills. I used to watch
Morgan Fairchild, as it were.
Morgan Fairchild. I was obsessed with Morgan Fairchild. The big hair and the lips.
Don't you think that
She's
Susan Lucci
amazing.
could easily play my mother?
She could.
Yes.
She easily could.
The only two women who could play my mother are Susan Lucci and Judith Light.
My mother holds that position, a starring role for. So don't worry about that. Your mother's right out of Central Casting.
You know, with the old talk show that I did at CFTA, she garnered more likes, subscribes, and comments than I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that always happens. So look at David Letterman's mother. She was more famous at times.
Yeah.
There's always that that extra interesting tidbit of a personality people latch on to make the other person even more interesting. Yeah? So
we are here at the YMCA.
Yes, we are. Yes.
And I want to say something about it, and I want to get your commentary on it.
Sure.
So when I first moved in here from the homeless shelter, my first response was, I like the homeless shelter more because it was like really clean. The food was amazing.
I'm not picking, I'm just scratching.
No, it's fine. I like the structure of it all. And when I moved in here, I was given the penthouse because I was pegged as someone who was well-behaved and aspirational. And the penthouse was disgusting. And like everyone had roach paper across their door jambs. And and they were like 10 roaches on each one. It was disgusting. And then just when I was about to pack my bags and hit the streets, there was the fire.
You're so dramatic. Pack your bags, hit the streets.
Exactly. So there's the fire. We're all dispersed to other places. Where did you go? I
went to a rooming house in Victoria in the middle of the, in that area. I call the white trash horse, the nexus of white trash horse, Emerald, Sanford, and Wentworth, that area.
Oh, yes. Yes, yeah. There's a wonderful variety there. I was placed in a retirement home where I'd never seen anyone who was dead inside because of old age. I was used to people being dead inside because of drug abuse. It was quite an experience. But anyway, when we came back, it was really different for me. I had gotten a job 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
I noticed for the first time that I was like literally 1 block from the express bus to Toronto, and that every bus in town was within 3 blocks. Rather than being resentful for the fact that I could no longer have sex because no visitors are allowed, I was like, great, I'm going to really get into my work. And I also said, oh, maybe this would be a good opportunity to get in shape. There's a gym there.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it then, but now that I'm doing this podcast, we're in this room that I get to use for free. I come down here sometimes when I'm sick of my own room. I do my writing down here or in the bigger room. It's really wonderful. But the day that I moved back in, I went up to the executive director, who I really love. I hated the staff. Didn't you hate the old staff?
That used to work here? Yeah.
Yeah, like the old director and the old executive.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know them.
But all of the new people, the Justins, the Genevieves, the Lindsays, like they're all so amazing. So anyway, I walked up to the new director, who I had bonded with previously because we were both obsessed with Madonna, and basically she and I have the same exact wardrobe. So I went into my room. They had given me a new floor. The place was really beautifully painted. The place had clearly been fumigated from top to bottom six times over.
Right.
And none of the people who used to bother me were there anymore.
They got rid of them for you.
So I walked up to her and I said, thank you so much for setting that fire. And she went, and I said, shh, shh, shh. Yeah. I won't tell anyone. I know it was.
Was it for insurance reasons or for Sean's comfortability?
No. I said, I know it was arson. I know you had to do something about the fact that this place was falling apart, and there were people who probably should have been in psychiatric homes or whatever, convalescent facilities.
It's hilarious.
And I'm like, shh, I'll never tell a soul. Now, I don't know if that's true.
Right.
But as someone who likes to fill in the blanks when I don't know what reality is.
Right.
That's the reality that I've chosen to put in that particular space. And I feel great about living here. Do I want to live here forever? No. But my next move is not going to be to another apartment in the city of Hamilton. I am going to have a Buenos Aires moment, a New York City moment, so on and so forth. Anyway, that's my story about being here at the YMCA. What's your story about being here at the YMCA?
Well, it's called transitional housing, but I think if you lived somewhere for 10 years, it's probably not considered anything other than
well, you're transitioning
stuck in place.
Well, you're transitioning to death.
Yeah, maybe someone's trying to tell me to transition to being a chick. I don't know. My friend always used to say he wanted to come back as a hot woman so he could bang other hot women, because he figured he'd be a lesbian when he came back to life. That's kind of funny. But yeah, because he's obsessed with lesbians, hot lesbians. So
real actual lesbians?
Actual hot lesbians.
Or the pretend lesbians?
No, the pretend recreational lesbians, because they're hotter. Because we have to make a distinction here, because in porn, you're going to get two hot women. But in real life, it's always one, dog, and it's one piece of ass. It's always like that for some reason. In real life, it's always a moment of pure like.
It's not always the case, but it's often the case.
It seems to be the case.
Well, relationships need polarity, or there's no sizzle.
Yeah, you need one woman's going to be the guy, basically. It doesn't matter if you have two guys, two women. There's always going to be one guy, masculine. It's like the Jordan Peterson thing. Just because he says there are attributes of femininity, masculine and feminine, doesn't mean that it dilutes femininity, or vice versa. There's aspects of both in each sex.
Well, I think that. Well, there has to be a polarity, and although that's a common go-to, there are others. For example, amongst homosexual men, some other possible polarities are racial.
Yeah.
There's this affinity for biracial relationships, or it could be size, one fatso, one skinny mini.
Right.
Right. But I think that in all relationships, you need a polarity, and the wonderful thing about heterosexuality is that it's instantaneous based on biology. But if you don't have that, if you're going in other directions, then you have to find somewhere else to be polarized. Otherwise, there's no sizzle.
Right. You remember Jordan Peterson was talking about how we've never seen, we never know how far the left can go, but we always know how far the right can go. Okay?
Right.
And then it's the same thing with sexuality. He says, well, we know that men could be brute, masculine freaks who will use dominance over people, but we don't really know the extent as to what a woman could do. Edie and men, can anyone say? Or, Edie and men. That's a, I don't even know.
That was a guy.
See, that's my my pure ignorance of world politics. Emil and Marcos. I was thinking of Marcos. I was thinking of another.
How far can women go?
Yeah, in charge of being a warlord, I'm saying.
Well, this is how far women can go. Yeah. I would like to refer you, Randy Hughes, comedian extraordinaire.
Thank you.
To Ilsa the She-Wolf. Studies of acts of sadism at the concentration camps in Poland make it quite clear that women were much better at being much worse.
Like Margaret Thatcher. I was watching Iron Lady the other day.
Well, do you like her?
I love Margaret Thatcher.
I love Margaret Thatcher.
I get excited. I find her sexy.
Did you see Gillian Anderson's portrayal of Margaret Thatcher in The Crown?
No, but I love Gillian Anderson.
Oh my God. That performance.
I was obsessed with the.
You know why that performance on Gillian Anderson's part was so brilliant? Because because Margaret Thatcher was such an unusual person, the way she looked, the way she talked, the way she presented herself. And some of the things that she said were like very Camille Paglia.
Yeah.
Like she just said, Margaret Thatcher would just say something that she knew the room was horrified by, and she'd be like this. And Gillian Anderson manages to replicate it without it turning into a Saturday Night Live caricature.
Okay.
Which I would imagine would be like really difficult to do, because every other time I've ever seen Margaret Thatcher portrayed by someone, either to the extent of comedy or drama, it's always looked like a cartoon. It's always looked like a parody.
It's easy to parody that kind of thing.
Yeah, but Gillian Anderson's performance was like absolutely amazing.
Oh, she's great.
She is amazing.
Oh, I love Gillian Anderson. Did you ever see her in Hannibal? Hannibal, the TV show Hannibal, they're about the serial killer based on Thomas Harris's book, based on Silence of the Lambs.
Does that happen before? Do the stories happen before or after the time of Silence of the Lambs? It's
the books. Well, it's sort of all in the same thing, because the books are well, you know, the Red Dragon. I don't know the order of the books, but the TV show mirrors the movies that mirror the books in order of the books.
Okay.
Yeah, like Manhunter was a prequel that was made in like the 80s, I think it was, Michael Mann film. And then the first big one of notoriety was Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
So this one is mirroring that one, but it has a different guy as the lead. Viggo, what's his name? Not Viggo. The other guy. What's his name? He's a Dutch actor. Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen plays Hannibal. And Gillian Henderson plays this woman under some Bengali-like power of him. And she knows what he's doing. And she's a shrink who is treating him, but at the same time, she's got a thing for him, okay? So it just shows you the extent of how deep someone could burrow into your brain.
Yes.
Even if they're evil, you can still have the hots for them and be into them.
Well, I think that same theme was explored in Joker 2. I'll never know because that's a movie I'll never see. But it's basically the same dynamic, allegedly.
I love the reason why that was maligned. All those. Did
you see it?
No, not yet. But
Do you want to?
Yes, desperately. You know why I want to see it? Because I get it. I understand what he was doing. Todd Phillips is a really interesting filmmaker. He is an artist. He understands. He did Hangover, which is hilarious. It's dumb, but it's funny. But it stays true to what it is.
The Hangover was brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's fantastic. But the film I loved the most, I loved his first one, The Joker. It's a fantastic movie. I know what he was doing with the sequel.
So in Joker 1, I have to stop closing my eyes all the time. In Joker 1, there's a scene that takes place on the street that looks like the Communist Revolution.
Right, yeah.
Then there's a scene that's very protracted and bloody at Arkham Asylum. Now, my opinion of the Joker is that the inclusion of that last 5-minute scene ruined the entire movie.
Okay.
I liked the original Joker film a lot, especially its homages to King of Comedy.
Yeah.
But I would have liked it so much more if it ended at the Communist Revolution. Your thoughts? I kind of agree. I don't remember all of it now. It was a long time ago I saw it. But I love that dark 70s feel to the movie. It was fantastic. Beautiful. You know what else captures it? There's a Madonna video called God Control.
Okay.
And there's so many similarities between the two.
Really?
It's hard to capture the 70s for exactly how gritty, obscene, decadent, delusional, and liberating it was. Most people, again, they do a characterization of it because they don't really get how strange the 70s were.
Right, yeah.
Both the Joker and that Madonna video do a really good job of documenting it.
Right.
More than parodying it.
Yeah, I know, it's interesting. Like Taxi Driver, obviously, and all that jazz really show you the gritty New York.
I never saw all that jazz. Is it
worth seeing? It's fucking brilliant.
Is it?
Bob Fosse is one of the greatest creative minds in the history of art. And this is the only guy to have Tonys, Oscars,
no, Rita Moreno has all of those too.
Okay, but I mean, he had a wide variety. He made 5 films, only 5 movies, but they're all fucking brilliant.
But if they all matter, that's all you need.
They're all brilliant. Yeah, as opposed to 20 and maybe 10 are shit. Like Tarantino said, you want to make 10 and get out while the getting is good, because you did what you wanted to do and you stayed with your vision. Other filmmakers fall apart. Coppola could do something brilliant, like Megalopolis was fantastic.
Right.
Shia LaBeouf, by the way, is a great fucking actor.
Yeah, of course he is.
Beautiful. But he's being judged in this PC horseshit social justice era.
You don't think he's been forgiven?
I think that he's starting to be forgiven right now, and I'm probably out of date with the criticism of him. And he's got backers because the artistic community who do great work love him. Coppola.
You're out of frame.
Coppola loves him. David Mamet loves him. Okay? When these people love you, who gives a shit if some housewife hates you? You know, it's like,
well,
he's fantastic.
Let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the work of David Fincher?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I had a conversation with Dr. Dahlia. That's what we call her.
Oh, yeah. She's deserved that title,
yes.
too.
Do you want to say Randy Hughes, or do you want a funny nickname?
No, I'm okay.
Because we have Dr. Dahlia,
yeah,
Reverend Doug,
wow.
Caleb the Tall, and I am SPS.
Well, you can make one up for me if you wish, just for your purposes.
Renegade Randy.
Well, that's fine, yeah. That's actually good.
So are you aware that prior to making feature films, that David Fincher had established himself as the greatest music video director of all time? He directed Madonna's best videos, Jody Watley's best videos, Belinda Carlisle's, Taylor Dane's.
Oh yeah, no, I know of him. You showed me Bad Girl.
So I was very interested that Dr. Dahlia agreed with me, because I mean, she's like the head of this film department at FIT and everything. But she agreed with me. David Fincher has never made a feature film as good as his music videos. That's how good his music videos were. A
lot of people said the same thing about Ridley Scott and Tony Scott in the early days too. But
they made videos?
They made videos too. They came up to Britain and it was all about commercial advertising.
I didn't know that.
They went to America and I think they did videos first too, I believe.
You're much more of a purist than me. What do you think of that? That like the idea of like huge talent like that making commercials? I think it's wonderful, because your only other option is to have good for nothings directing.
I used to be a little snotty about that back 10, 20 years ago. Camille Paglia helped me out of my pretentious phase. She did. She very much did. She really interesting. I always thought I was stupid because I couldn't understand French theory. Then I read her and she told me that those people are full of shit. So I said, oh, I get it now. I'm not stupid. French postmodern post-structuralism is stupid. Is double talk. It doesn't make any sense on paper.
It does make sense in French.
Maybe it's better in its own
mystic
language.
It does make sense in French, and it was a necessary fuck you to the oppressive bureaucracy of the way that the Parisian aristocracy worked.
Right.
But it has no place in the United States or in Canada.
It doesn't have a place in our love of freedom. Yeah.
What we need to be focusing on. May I make a public service announcement?
Yes, you can.
This podcast is not brought to you by the Birmingham School nor the Toronto School, despite the fact that they're the best bodies of critical and theoretic framework for understanding popular culture and mass media in the English-speaking world, the Anglophone world. Get with it, people. Birmingham and Toronto are where it's at. Marcia McLuhan, Stuart Hall, and all of their cronies.
And Neil
delicious.
Postman. Do you know Neil Postman?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he understands McLuhan as well as I do.
He was the heir apparent to McLuhan.
Yes.
He was the Dean of Communication Studies, I believe, at Columbia. Was it Columbia, I think, in the States? I'm not sure.
Why not?
Maybe. Brilliant. Amusing Ourselves to Death is the penultimate book on...
That is a great title.
It's a fantastic book. Amusing Ourselves to Death. But getting back to what you said, no, I don't have a problem with a great film director making great art. I have no problem with advertising. My only problem with advertising is it's tacky a lot of times. And you could do it so much more interesting vis-a-vis people like Fincher or Tony Scott. Tony Scott is not going to beat Coppola or ever will.
Who's Tony Scott?
Tony Scott does genre films. But he does genre films like Monet as a painter, okay? But he does gritty action films, but they're beautifully conceived productions.
Do you know any of the titles?
Yeah, lots. And Man on Fire, Denzel. Revenge films, okay? A film called Revenge with Kevin Costner having an affair with Anthony Quinn's wife. And then Anthony Quinn's guys go after Kevin Costner and beat the shit out of him. It's all very rote genre shit, but it's like a painting come to life. Because he did video. He was an artist. He was a painter as well.
Oh.
A lot of film directors are interested in painting or are painters. David Lynch,
Patty Jenkins is very inspired by painting.
Yeah, and that helps. So a painting that moves kind of thing. So Revenge, Man on Fire, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. John Travolta plays the leader of a terrorist organization taking down the New York subway system. Fantastic director, but it's genre. It's in and out, no bullshit, no pretension. Tough guys, femme fatales, You'd love it. Yeah. For what it is, you would love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one last thing to say about the YMCA.
What's up?
And then I want to move on to some of the topics that you've brought for us today.
Sure.
So,
I want to talk about advertising. So don't forget that. Advertising.
So see this coffee?
Yeah.
See this coffee? So there's a cafe between the residence portion of this building and the fitness center portion of this building.
Fixing my toupee.
Okay, that's real. That's real.
It is real.
And
for now.
And so I ran out of coffee upstairs. I got this coffee from over there. Every time I go there, the husband or wife who run the place, so this cup of coffee has cost me in the past week, it's cost me $2.83, $2.37, $1.83. Like, it's never the same price. And I noticed I noticed last week, because I never really looked while she was making it. Last week I noticed, oh, by the way, I've asked for small and I've asked for large, and I only realized last week that they only have one size. And wait, there's more.
No, it's true.
There's more. I also noticed last week that if I say 1.5 cream, 1.5 Splenda, because I like the way that Splenda interacts with my mood stabilizers, you can say double, you could say 1.5, 1.5, you could say cream, you could say Splenda, you could say sweet and low. She makes the coffee the way she feels like making it.
I love that too. No, she's interesting, because I thought it was just me. So until you brought that up, it's cool.
She does that to you too?
She does it to everybody, yeah. Why is it a different price every week? And it seems to be like, I don't fight it anymore. I accept it as a reality of living here in this surreal landscape I live in now. So
I used to be very resentful of stuff like that.
She's so nice though.
Is she?
She's nice in a, you're right, there needs to be an addendum to that. Nice in the sense of, I'm serving you because I have this business, I'm going to be nice because it's the stricture of societal conventions, otherwise go fuck yourself. That's kind of attitude she has.
Well, I noticed that. So I went over and I was wearing 5 crucifix necklaces.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that was the lowest price I ever got charged.
Yeah, because she's always reading that stuff.
And it's called the Bible. And
I know.
I went over today wearing this thing, and this is the most I've ever been charged.
Oh man, so another Jew hater. Hey, we should get into Jew hating too, because I just finished reading a 1,000-page book by Andrew Roberts about Winston Churchill.
What's it called?
Because I went Walking with Destiny, I think. Is it Walking with Destiny?
Well, Winston Churchill's always associated with the concept of destiny.
5,000 titles.
You still don't have a case for your phone.
No, I know. I keep forgetting to get one. It's a fantastic book, because after listening to that stupid interview, debate, and he was pissed.
What, the Douglas Murray?
Yeah, and he was pissed about it. Friends of his.
Who?
Because let me give you a preface first. And he was on Gad Sahad's podcast.
Yes.
He's a good friend of Gad's. And God brought it up about 3/4 way through. He says, I talked about this before, we were going to talk about this, referencing Dave Smith. And Douglas, he says, I know. And Douglas said, yeah, I had guys I know, and they listened, and they got back to me. Yeah, because he wouldn't listen to it. Obviously, why would he? But if he has friends like you and I do, say, hey, someone was talking about you, kind of thing. Right? Okay. Because Joe Rogan was going off on his website, on his podcast with Tim Dillon, making fun of Douglas Murray with his British accent. I'm going, it's interesting how when people disagree with somebody, the lowest resolution they'll use is they'll imitate their voice, they'll trash their religion, their ethnicity.
They won't address the issue.
They'll never address the issue. And all the issue was, if you're an expert, we can have experts who are still considered experts, and we can have fake experts, and then we can have conspiracy theorists, and we can have comics thinking they know what they're talking about.
I love Joe Rogan. I don't know what my vision for my future would be without him.
Oh, I love Rogan.
I'm so impressed by the way that over the course of the years he's become so tuned in to what's going on beneath the surface. And I'm not going to do that thing that other wannabe comedians with no success do. Oh, well, I don't like his last special. Oh, he's not funny anymore. Oh, he's controlled opposition. No, he's his own thing. I'm his own thing. I'm very grateful that he exists. But at the same time, I don't know why he, and for that matter, Bret Weinstein,
Walking with Destiny.
I don't know why he and Bret Weinstein and others are going off on Douglas Murray like there's something unusual about being indignant because no one has standards anymore. Douglas Murray wasn't saying we need to install censorship throughout the podcasting world. What he said was, why aren't you ashamed of yourself that you're flapping your gums with all of these opinions that have such impact on the world when you've never been there to see it? And also the what I consider to be the extremely appropriate indignance that Joe Rogan would put Douglas Murray with someone who hadn't been there. Like, as the person who's hosting the podcast,
right,
it's not fair to the audience. It's not fair to the guests.
He was a little pissed. He used the phrase...
Who was pissed?
Douglas Murray was pissed. He said...
Yes, I know. And what I'm saying is
he used Dave as a babysitter. He used the
what
word.
I'm saying is it's so... He was so appropriate.
Yeah.
He was so appropriate.
Yeah, and he was classy about the whole thing. I would have been way pissed more in the room at the time. That was ridiculous, the whole thing. And it's like Douglas Murray said with God Sahad on his podcast. He said, you got a comedian talking, which is fine. You don't have to be there, fine. You're not expert, but then no, I hate the phrase, no, stay in your lane, but you know.
Well, I'd like you to stay in frame.
Okay, I'll stay in frame.
So scoot over,
okay,
1 inch. Okay, so much better.
I'm a nervous
Lean
person.
forward. You don't need to be nervous. This podcast is going wonderfully.
No,
this podcast is brought to you by Everything's Going Perfectly.
What pisses me off is that, like Douglas said, not everything's nihilistic. Not everything has to be deconstructed to the point of absurdity. These are my words. But he said not everything has to be nihilistic. If you're doing comedy, you're doing comedy. And you're hanging around. But if you haven't been to the goddamn place you're criticizing, that's a bit of a problem.
Well, you can criticize it, but you shouldn't go on a 2 or 3 hour long podcast with an investigative journalist who has witnessed. It's just not an appropriate match.
And that was just the beginning point. Jimmy Dore went off on him too. So did Metzger, New York City comic. They were all making fun of Douglas Murray. They said, oh, he had IDF handlers when he was there. He didn't actually see anything. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? This guy's basically a foreign correspondent. He spent like a year there, I think, in Israel, in the Gaza Strip.
I mean, he's made multiple.
Yeah, I mean, it was outrageous to me, the lambasting he received from these guys in comedy. I'm a comedian. I haven't been there. I know what I'm talking about. And if you're always going to run to that corner and say, well, I'm a comedian, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm a comedian. Like, that's a bullshit argument.
Well,
if you haven't been there.
I think it's a good from the perspective of phenomenology.
Right.
I'm pleased that it happened because what it did was it started to create some sort of separation that's been lacking in who's a podcaster versus who's a comedian.
Yeah.
And I know that I started as a comedian and I found podcasting to be much better for my constitution,
right?
My personality, my sense of humor, my antipathy towards having to get a laugh every 30 seconds, regardless of what.
Yeah, no, I get it, yeah.
And I'm not saying that comedians shouldn't be podcasters and podcasters shouldn't be comedians, but we serve our audiences better and we have better careers when we stop pretending that everyone's the same.
Exactly, yeah. But they're doing the exact same thing that they criticize other people for. It's like they get mad at the left for being full of shit. Well, you're doing the same thing. I mean, no, I don't want transgender 6'2" guy with a cock who doesn't have one anymore competing against women who have worked their whole lives, who have different bone structure than men do. Like, it's idiotic.
Yes.
So it's the same thing intellectually, isn't it? Shouldn't you know what you're talking about when it comes to world affairs? So my response was...
No, I'm in full support of Douglas Murray, not only because I want a serious relationship with him.
Well, the man's brilliant. I mean, and gorgeous in voice. He's wonderful. My response was not to get all indignant of, oh, I read a book. That was my response. I read a 1,000-page book on it.
Yes, tell me about this book.
Fucking fantastic.
And what is it that you got out of it?
I got out of it that we are lucky we're not speaking German today.
Yes.
Do not say this with an air of hyperbole. He was sent here from God to save Western civilization. So we're not speaking German. I say that with serious inflection. He should be on a poster of every child's room as opposed to Bieber, okay? The man is incredible. His own party was trying to kick him out. Opposition was kicking him. He wasn't even in office for 8 years, but he was bitching. He had enough cachet where he could bitch loudly and still be in parliament and still get things heard and still fuck with people. Because he was a journalist from the get-go. Because he was writing... Yeah,
a lot of people don't remember that. He started as a journalist.
He started as a journalist. He had to get paid for his words.
What was his beat? What did he cover?
Oh, he was a political... I don't remember.
So he always was in politics.
He's always in politics, yeah. But he
didn't have he wasn't on the food beat for...
I don't think so. Yeah. No, I don't really remember a lot. I'm kind of retarded when it comes to reading. My comprehension is good. I'm more of a conceptual...
No, it's not.
I'm more of a conceptual thinker. I'm saying with dates, like Dave Smith would be better than me in a debate because he can remember dates and But I can't remember dates, but I'm conceptual. I'm more of a
You get the big picture.
I tend to, but at the same time, I like these little tiny things just drive me crazy. I'm obsessed with details like he's walking around in a cane and a bowler hat, talking like Shakespeare's sonnets out loud in Parliament. It is amazing to me that he actually attained the position he did and defeat the Germans. He was the first one who thought of advancing weaponry through ops, special forces. He developed special forces. He developed code breakers. He insisted on rearming.
Was he the one who developed that whole MI system, like
yes,
MI1,
yes,
MI2, MI3?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He was developing that. He was developing code breakers, rearming people. He saw the rise of Nazism. He saw the invasion of Poland. He saw everything coming before it happened. It's a phenomenal story. But the left will call him a terrorist to deface the statue. And they'll say, well, he worked with the Russians. He worked with the Russians against the Nazis. Yeah, but he also rolled his eyes and said, yeah, we're going to deal with them killing Jews, invading lands, or this communist over here who he doesn't like. So they agreed to disagree so they could defeat the Germans.
Yes.
That's like you and me. You and me have to, we have our problems with each other. We're not going to bury the hatchet because you never know when you need it, right?
Would this be a good time to let our audience know that we don't like each other?
No, we don't at all. But we have a symbiotic relationship artistically.
How many times have we stopped speaking to one another?
2 or 3 times. We're like Madonna and Sandra Bernhard. But it doesn't matter because I see the bigger picture. We have to stick together.
Well, here's the thing. If I don't like having comedians on the show, and I haven't had one on yet. You're the first one.
You shouldn't. They're a big pain in the ass.
But the thing is, I'm not non-friends with you because you're a comedian. I'm non-friends, therefore colleague or associate, because you can talk about things other than your dick, weed, and video games.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Pride myself on that.
Yeah.
Those 3.
I mean, conceptually, I love comedians. In practice, when I'm around them, I want to slash my wrists.
Well, yeah, because they're annoying. Everything's they're like toddlers throwing a tantrum.
That's why Sandra doesn't hang out around other comedians most of the time. Of course.
No, I understand completely. Yeah. I don't want to hang around them either half the time.
Well, you never do because none of them like you.
No, they hate me because they're shallow.
Well, maybe you should stop calling people fucking bitch at open mics.
She deserved it. Andrea Rodriguez has problems.
Oh my God.
Fuck her.
You don't think that she's amazing?
No, I think she's crazy.
I think
she's got problems.
So here's the thing. I just told you what I think of comedians behind the scenes when they're not on stage.
Right.
But when they're on stage, it's another story. We have to separate the artist from the art. I don't really know her that well. My observation of her is that she's a little shy, a little unaware of her own brilliance, and that comes off as cold. But on stage, I absolutely positively love watching her. I love watching her. I would watch a sitcom built around her. I think she's amazing.
I'm just saying that the evidence is
Do you
faulty.
like her on stage?
No.
Okay.
The evidence is faulty, okay? I'm called a misogynist. Okay, I pay women to do comedy. I have women at my shows every month. Okay,
You're the Donald Trump of the Hamilton comedy scene.
I am. I'm a Christ figure, basically, yeah. You know, the other thing that killed me about Churchill was then they shit on him for, oh, well, he dropped a bomb.
Who's they? Let people know what you mean by
they. They are the idiotic social justice progressive communists who rag on him for landing, him and Truman for landing an atomic bomb in Japan. But they had to, in order to not kill more people. He was saying, if I have to meet my maker, well, I'm hoping that my maker will let me, defend myself first.
Well,
it's like Douglas Murray said, they're all about low resolution arguments. Conspiracy theorists on the left, communists. It's the easiest argument to put into a nice bow tie to explain your position.
What do you think of the?
Things are more complicated.
Yes. What do you think of the view that, in a strange way, the Nazis did win World War II? Let me explain to you what I mean. Let me explain to you what I mean by that.
You have to explain.
I'm not talking about a conspiracy. What I'm talking about is the unintended consequences. So, first of all of the important Nazis were absorbed into the British, American, or Argentine government.
Okay.
Second of all, Nazi ideology took a hold in the Middle East and was responsible for the forming of at least two political parties that to this day are dedicated to wiping Israel and Jews off the map.
Right.
Okay? NASA is very strange and has tried to get away with acts of manipulation like, oh, all of the original cans of film of all of the moon landings and whatnot, we forgot, we lost them, we accidentally whatever, and most damningly MK Ultra.
Right.
So if we're living in a world where there's still so if we're living in what I'm about to say is very complicated. So. Okay, I'm just going to say
say what you
the fact that Israel exists. Here's the thing. I think that Israel has every right in the world to exist. It's a shining beacon in terms of its glamour, its sophistication, its technological advancement, its GDP. It's a great country.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm not that thrilled with the way it came into existence.
Right.
Because Hitler had early dealings with the Zionists and all of that stuff. So the world that we live in is Hitler's world. There's an anti-Israel, anti-Jewish political party in the Middle East, maybe more. I should study that more. We have people who think like Nazis in the space program, in the CIA, in MK Ultra, the manipulation of the population through those technologies and techniques. We're living very much in a Nazi world.
I struggle between the two worlds of conspiracy, which interesting things, and fascinating deep dives, which I hate that fucking phrase. And then, like Douglas Murray says, historical research and extrapolating idea and coming to a conclusion based on evidence. Yeah, I love that. So
but I'm not
typical.
Talking about a conspiracy of like, oh, the Nazis really won and the negotiation was kept secret from the world. What I'm saying is the way that things turned out.
No, I know. I'm just saying as opposed to being one or the other.
Right. Do you see that too?
Yes, no, I do. I really do. It's just that I want to ground myself.
I'd like to say that the most important persistence of Nazism in the world is the way that Nazi uniforms became sexualized and fetishized in Finland through Tom of Finland, and that the whole world of BDSM, of the leather scene in the gay world, etc., it's all Nazism.
Okay, interesting fact here. Okay, Judas Priest,
inconveniently hot.
Okay, this is interesting. Rob Halford, lead singer, homosexual from Judas Priest.
Yes.
Adolf Hitler, Nazis, fetishistic uniforms, kind of sexualized, right?
Yeah, it's all the same.
All the followers of these two things, metal and the socialism, come totalitarianism, a lot in common with people having no idea that these were raving homosexuals.
Can you explain how people did not know that the Village People were, you know?
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic, isn't it?
But how
Some
could
redneck
that
asshole who loves Judas Priest doesn't realize?
Do you like that?
Excuse me, their leader is gay.
Do you like that?
I love that.
I love it too.
It's fantastic.
Although it makes me judge people for being stupid, but at the same time, I like being able to operate in that space because to me it's so much funnier. There's so much more freedom. This world of homosexual acceptance chaps my ass. I hate it. I feel suffocated.
Chaps your ass is an eloquent phrase to express it, which I totally agree with.
Do you have any idea how much it bothers me to walk into a bank and all I want to do is deposit a check, and I'm confronted by rainbow flags and like statements of like alignment with oh God, slash my wrist.
Or how about the people you have to deal with administratively speaking when you go into any program, like welfare offices, government offices, they're all promoting one thing only. You're promoting homosexuality, which is fine. But why does it have to be this politically correct
I walked into the hospital to get an ultrasound yesterday. Yeah. The first thing I saw was a rainbow flag, and I said, well, this would be a convenient place to shoot myself in the head. Yeah, it'd be a great byline on the news, wouldn't it? I want to talk about two things here.
Yeah. That advertising about the lack of sexuality and gore and sexiness and beauty in advertising. How come all models look like 13-year-old boys? There's no sex anymore in advertising.
Or they're lumpy.
It drives me crazy. Go to Susie Shear there. Like no tits.
Go where?
Susie Shear, the store, the advertising campaign. It's sweaters, pants, slacks, shoes, no sex. There's no tits, no ass, no hair.
There's also no fantasy. There's no aspiration.
There's no S&M.
There's no glamour.
Nothing.
There's nothing. So you must like the fashion advertising and the fashion editorials from the mid-90s the most.
I love that. Are you kidding?
The Amazonian, athletic,
Linda Evangelista,
Olympian quality.
I mean, Jesus Christ, Kim Basinger. I mean, Cindy Crawford.
I really don't know if I don't know if it will ever be as good as it was in the late 80s, early 90s in terms of the way that we visualized the potential of men and women.
Those women were like warlords of the culture. They were unbelievable.
Do you remember Sandra Bernhard's Revlon campaign?
No, I kind of do. I remember seeing her everywhere.
It was amazing.
I remember seeing her everywhere.
It was so good.
She was going to be on Sex and the City, but she said to Howard Stern, she turned it down because they didn't pay up. They didn't give her what she should have gotten. And she said, the only reason I did that is because I would lose then what I could make in doing burlesque shows, stand-up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get my same money. They don't give you the same credit. If somebody knows you can be paid less, guess what? They're going to pay less.
Yeah, but Sandra Bernhard, ultimately, that show's beneath her.
Oh, yeah, but that's the other thing was I'm glad she didn't do it.
And the other thing is, to be perfectly honest, it was also beneath, what's that Canadian actress?
Which one?
The one who's not friends with the others. The one who played Samantha.
Samantha? On what are you referring to?
Sex and the City.
Oh, the Canadian one.
She was a bit older than the others. Oh, Kim Cattrall.
Oh, sorry.
Kim Cattrall. I also think that the show was beneath Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, she was funny. I never got into it. I never understood the sexuality of Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm sorry. Don't get it. She's funny. She's a hilarious person.
I've seen her in person. I used to see her a lot in person. And what I like about her is her anxious, micromanagerial, obsessiveness and dissatisfaction. Like I really like that about her.
Oh yeah,
I really like that about her.
What do you think? What do you think?
And she really does walk the walk in terms of like she talks of. She's raising her own kids. Like it's so obvious.
Yeah,
she's involved or making all of her own styling choices.
Right.
Like she's a very self-created woman.
Yeah,
and that really, 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 I admire that so much.
Well, people shit on Trump, but he raised good kids. He raised kids who have self-respect, who are nice people, who respect him. Huh?
It's very rare to see someone that wealthy with kids who turn out that well.
Like Don Jr.? I love Don Jr.
It's extremely rare.
I would never say that among comics. They would just attack me.
But how could you not like him?
What's wrong with Don Jr.? He worked on construction sites when he was young.
It's like Fox and Sky News had a baby and it's him.
He's
such a great character.
He wasn't coddled. He went to school. He worked on construction sites. Like, I don't understand this media barrage of propaganda against
Well, Ivanka was determined that they would not turn out
rotten.
That they would not turn out rotten.
Bourgeoisie dilettantes.
She was determined. You know, she put them to work on the golf courses when they were 15.
Well, and it shows the way they act.
Yeah. Oh, and she told the
them.
story. I think it was Don Jr. who came up to her after he found out that everyone else who had his job was making more.
Yeah.
Because she had like downgraded his salary just to.
Right. I love that. Yeah.
And he says, "Mom, why am I not making this?" She said, "Because you haven't been smart enough to find out how much everyone else is making, then come to me and negotiate."
That's good. Let's go on to the movie with Sebastian, what's his name? Stan, who played.
I still haven't.
Oh my
seen
God,
it.
Fantastic! A work of art, a great film, I saw it twice.
Lots of evidence in that movie that Donald Trump wants to put all the gays in concentration camps.
It's just stupid. There's only one criticism I had, that they portrayed him raping his wife. Is that even possible to rape your wife?
Yes,
it is, I guess. But you know, do you have evidence for that, or is that just trying to stay like, oh, we're being, you know, biased? We're not being biased here. And anyways, it was a very good movie. Well conceived. Really good.
Is Sebastian Stan one of those Zachary Levi types who's announced himself as conservative as a precursor to opening his own movie studio?
I'm not sure. I keep seeing those listings online on Facebook, and it's just, I think,
for what?
Ridiculous. This is probably a story starting their own studio. I keep hearing this. Mel Gibson, the right. I think it's a lot of AI bots and shit, and I think it's a lot of mass propaganda in order to assuage people into their camps. Stay in your camps. Stay on your side. Stay hating the other team. Belong to a team. Belonging to a team is good. You know? I don't know. What do you think about Taylor? What do you think about Katy Perry being in outer space? Huh? Isn't that appropriate?
I'm so glad you asked. All right. So here's the thing.
I want to talk about this.
I found out about Katy Perry earlier than most people.
Right.
I was managing this eco luxury spa in Jersey City between jobs, and this woman came in with dyed black hair, ice blue eyes, pale white skin. We became friends after her third or fourth visit. And then on her fourth visit, like, she dumps on the counter of the spa this, all of this photography, CDs, press kits from this new artist named Katy Perry. And I've told the story before in previous episodes about, you know, the conversation we had about this emerging artist. But I absolutely thought that some of her songs are some of the best examples of songwriting in pop music ever.
Right.
Her videos, a lot of her videos are sheer genius. But it seems to me that her personhood is missing. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. I find it very worrisome. If I don't discipline myself, my mind goes to being part of this machine that also involves Gayle King and Drew Barrymore and Oprah Winfrey and Kamala Harris. And it just worries me, and I have to stop myself and just have respect for, like, her brilliant music videos, her brilliant songwriting. But I will say that, what's the name of that company that did it? The one that's owned by Jeff Bezos, Blue something?
I'm not sure.
Whatever it is. Here's the thing. If they had taken these women in these really sexy suits and they had done like a Camp Barbarella thing.
Yeah.
And they were just honest about saying, this is a publicity stunt for space tourism. Right. I actually would have thought that it was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
But I would have been so happy with it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm really angry with it, the way that it was positioned. By the way, I don't really think they went up very far. That whole thing with the door is very bothersome to me. I don't know if they went at all. I think the whole thing might have been a hoax. I don't know. But here's the thing. It's so incredibly disrespectful to the actual history of female astronauts.
Yeah.
It's so diminishing because, you know, I was listening to the Dark Horse podcast and they were going over the credentials of the actual scientists in the capsule.
Yeah, right.
And the one scientist was, to a great extent, the beneficiary of all this DEI stuff that she didn't need because she's clearly brilliant. And she keeps accumulating grants and whatnot, despite the fact that she's wealthy and successful and has kind of gotten beyond the sticking point that DEI conceptually is supposed to help you push past.
Yeah.
But it was so incredibly anti-feminist. It was so incredibly disrespectful because, you know, the history of women in space is kind of important. Like,
especially the teacher that fucking died in a Challenger explosion. Yeah.
If she died, I kind of think that they all have new identities, but
okay.
No, I do.
Okay.
Because if you look online, but you know, Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
The space program never would have gone another inch without those women that were depicted in that movie. And the Russian, whose name I forget, who was the first woman alone in space. And she was so young, and she came back and she became a very important politician in Russian history. Like, that's, you know, it's like, and now it's like, this is the bar.
Or how about that broad who ran cross country in diapers so she didn't have to go to the goddamn bathroom because she was trying to get back at
that was clearly
she was in love with
was clearly MK Ultra.
I love that.
That was clearly story. MK Ultra, but it shows a certain vim and vigor that I love.
I love that too.
I love to see
because everyone truly understands that. Well, I was going to go a little more shallow when I was talking about
Katy
Perry.
Go ahead.
Just for stand-up comedy wise, but I really mean this too. It might sound outrageous, but I think they should have a new space program. Instead of sending chimps in outer space, send low-rent celebrities out there to fucking explore outer space. We don't care if they fucking die because they're shitheads to begin with. And keep the ones grounded like Tori Amos. We need Tori Amos here. But I don't want to hear her talk or be interviewed because she'll start talking like a hippie.
You told me you liked that interview.
I love her. When she talks about music, she talks about creativity and her piano skills, but I don't want to hear her opinions about anything. Because she said why she got into philanthropy and why she set up a RAIN organization for charity to help out women who are raped, and which is a wonderful cause. Rape's not wonderful, the cause is wonderful. But it's not always rape, is it? That's right. It's not always rape. Sometimes you had a couple of drinks too many and both people are drunk.
Well,
that happens.
Well, but the actual, in all seriousness, the point there is that the definition of rape has expanded.
It has,
and
thank God.
It now includes consensual encounters that you regret the next morning.
Yes,
and that's a terrible thing because it deprives women of the opportunity to own their actions.
I'm just saying, ground people who are smart and euthanize the stupid ones by sending them out of outer space. Yeah, or Sarah McLachlan, okay? All right, here's another one, okay?
But she's done so much for puppies.
Well, you know, I'm kind of torn because you send her out of space or keep her on Earth and have her like, you know, she's advocating adopting cats and dogs. Well, someone should adopt her as a musician / shelter musician. You know? Someone can adopt her and take care of her, you know? I don't want to see those fucking ads on TV. They make me upset because they're, who cannot react to those ads? Just start crying watching little puppy dogs.
It's the most manipulative.
It is.
It's the most manipulative, aggressive.
I just don't want to hear Lawrence. I don't want to hear celebrities I even love hit an intellectual speed bump with their opinions. Because Tori Amos, she said, I was inspired because of Anita Hill. And once I heard that, I said,
oh,
okay,
God.
Why do you have to say that? I love you. You're fucking amazing. You're a brilliant songwriter, but shut up. I'm sorry, Anita Hill's just a pubescent freak of nature. I'm not saying Clarence Thomas is not a perv, but who gets upset about a titty mag? Yeah.
Well,
he was showing her porn, right?
Well, here's the thing. I have tremendous compassion for, and sometimes relatedness with people who are standoffish about sex. Like I'm standoff. Like I talk about sex all the time,
right?
And I've had a wild sexual past. But right now, what's really good for me spiritually is to be celibate, right?
Right.
And so I get people not wanting that rubbed in their face. I know that this is controversial, but my point of view is that if you once say, hey, no, or knock it off, or I don't want this, once,
right,
it's clearly rape.
Yeah.
But in what world do you play along and benefit from it and go back for more, and then 20 years ago get to say that it doesn't seem right to me?
How about no like this though? No, no. Okay, maybe. I mean, come on. Gigi Lavange said it. You know who Gigi Lavange is? Okay, I know you're not crazy about Bridget. Check out her interview with Gigi Lavange.
Okay.
Gigi Lavange is a screenwriter, novelist. She worked for Fred Silverman, ABC Network for years. And she said, this guy was always hitting on me left and right. You know, I just laughed, took it, whatever, you know, some old guy who likes me. Alan Thicke tried to hit on her too. She said he said she had nice legs, and she just, you know, whatever. I wasn't into it, but whatever. She doesn't care. She didn't make a federal case out of it and go to the Supreme Court. Like, guys are obnoxious. It's like Catherine Deneuve. Remember all the European actresses and actors and directors signed an open letter saying about the Me Too campaign?
Mm-hmm.
Men are just obnoxious. We're just fools. We've got to propagate the species. If it was up to women, we living in grass huts, right? As Camille Paglia said this, right?
Thanks, Camille.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have to be the hunter, huh?
So, you know, the
respectfully,
the most complicated, heartbreaking, nuanced, important story of a famous woman, a public figure, an entertainer, as it were, a celebrity, being sexually harassed and dealing with it with excellence is Megyn Kelly.
I love Megyn Kelly.
I love her too.
Fuck.
But the thing is, she's so interesting because
she's got a sense of humor, first of all.
Well, yes, but when that stuff happened with Roger Ailes, she didn't like it, she didn't want it, but she said so. And she's such a strong figure that eventually he knocked it off and they became friends because she had forgiveness, and also, I suppose, because she won that particular negotiation. Yeah. And then when she was called upon to testify, her integrity is so built in that she's like, I don't want to do this. I already handled it on my own. I forgave him. Everything's fine. But on the other hand, I'm dedicated to telling the truth. And she said something that a lot of women, Simone de Beauvoir, never got it. Betty Friedan never got it.
Really?
Madonna didn't get it. What I'm about to
say
is,
I didn't know that.
Megyn Kelly got that she's stronger than and different from most women. These other women who I mentioned, all of whom I love, their fatal flaw when they talk about gender politics is they don't get that some of their experience emerges from the fact that they're exceptional, and they always will be exceptional no matter what room, no matter what type of person they're put with. But Megyn Kelly ended up testifying, and it broke her heart, and she's still conflicted about it. It's a shame that that happened to her, but I've never seen anyone deal with being on the receiving end of harassment with such nuance and complexity and effectiveness. It's just really, I think that it's real. A lot of people can talk. We're talking right now. But her story is amazing. Yeah, I agree. As is the stories of Madonna and Annabella Sciorra kicking Harvey Weinstein in the nuts.
I love Annabella Sciorra.
The nuts that don't exist.
I love Annabella Sciorra.
I love Annabella Sciorra.
That Jungle Fever is a fantastic movie.
It's amazing.
She's so good.
Do you know what's going on with Harvey Weinstein?
No, he's just this pathetic guy in jail trying to get out.
So Candace Owens is speaking out on his behalf. Excuse me.
I would speak on his behalf in one sense that he got these movies made. You know, how hard it is to get a movie made, to get fantastic, great fucking movies made, to be this.
He never produced a bad movie.
No, Shakespeare in Love. I mean, please, Pulp Fiction. I mean, so it's problematic. I hate that fucking word, problematic. Can we get rid of unpack?
Breathing's problematic. I'm sick of it.
Can we get rid of all these words? Unpack, problematic. What? Oh, it's not in my wheelhouse. What else? Let's go to deep dive. I mean, come on. Can we? We never talked like this before. Why are we talking like this now?
It's because we're inside a matrix of communication that has an intensity and persistence that it never had before. We're absorbing all of it.
We're in a culture where people say things like chest breeding. Chest breeders. They're saying men can be pregnant now. The left is going.
Okay, so I need to put my foot down with you about one thing.
What?
That's not happening anymore.
Not anymore, but it's still
our side of the culture war. Yeah. All of the stuff that we agree on.
I know.
We've won,
but it still lingers there with the language in education circles too.
Oh my God. The symbolic moment of rupture and reclamation was when Trump won.
I know, it's the red wave.
He's only been in office for like, what, 3-4 months? Give it some time.
What I'm saying is in Canada, I'm saying more to the point with the language.
Well, no, that's because Canada's Canada.
And the propaganda here.
Canada's like, you know what the observation I ended up having was?
What?
Canada's the most unsophisticated country in the world. That's its primary problem. That's what leads to all of the other problems in this country.
Yeah, living here is like, it's a facade. It's like a Potemkin village living here, a fake construction. You know? For nitwit celebrities to envision a greater paradise. Oh, look, that's how they really live. Meanwhile, when the representatives leave, everyone's killing people in the streets. I mean, remember the shitheads on the left back in the day who visited Russia? Useful idiots.
Absolutely.
And the Emma Goldman, at the end of the day, wasn't she like all like horrified as to what really was perpetrated by Stalin? They didn't really know what was going down.
No. Here's what I'll say about Canada. The way that it's being run is disgusting. And this one way of formulating Canadian identity where everything that the Americans are not is disgusting.
Right.
Because Canada actually has so much to offer the world that has nothing to do with not being American. That is so reactive and childish. This country, the musical talents in this country, the natural wonders of this country, there is an end underneath all of the training that we've received to be so weak, to be so suicidally empathetic. Underneath, the people here at their core, and they don't even know it, are so sturdy. And that's what's disgusting. That's really what's disgusting, the squandered potential
Churchill
of this great land.
Negotiate at a position of strength, not weakness.
Yes, yes. So you said you didn't want to go over an hour.
No, I know it's been an hour and 20 or so.
Well, hold on.
Hold on.
There's two possibilities here.
Okay.
Two. So the first possibility is that you get over yourself and we keep on talking. The second possibility is that I put up with you again for a follow-up episode in May.
Yeah, well, the feeling's mutual with the being putting up part. Don't worry about that. We'll do another one another time. I got a lot of things to do, errands and shit.
Okay,
I'm trying to get out of my head out of my nether regions.
And I'm trying to get my
operation, in
my cleavage, my Star of David. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the SPS podcast with your host, Sean Patrick Sullivan. My guest today has been my best friend and worst enemy, Randy Hughes. Look for him again next month. Bye-bye.
We're all good, supplies last.